Hi, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you caught the last episode and that the information I shared was helpful. In this episode, I'm going to be discussing the importance of having legal counsel. And this is true for any property transaction, not just land transactions. And the reason I want to cover this topic is because over the last 7 months or so, I have received numerous questions from many of you, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to share from all our experiences trading in property in Kenya since 2011. And while I have, a good amount of experience to kind of, share what pitfalls to look out for and how to do certain things in the legal process, I am not a licensed advocate of the High Court. I am simply a licensed land trader, a businessman, an entrepreneur, and a land investor, both personally and professionally. Many of these questions really ought to be directed to advocates. And in Kenya, we like to stipulate that they are advocates of the High Court, and they have to be licensed. Very big difference between someone calling themselves a lawyer and someone who's actually licensed. Believe it or not, there's plenty of people out there who, for one reason or the other, are not licensed by the Law Society of Kenya to practice their legal profession, either because of fraud, because of certain complaints that came in, and for some reason their license has not been renewed. And that is just as dangerous as driving on the road or riding in a vehicle. Say you've called an Uber to take you somewhere, or a taxi to take you somewhere, and the driver is not licensed. The license expired or was revoked for whatever reason. Getting into a land transaction or property transaction with a lawyer who is not currently licensed is just as dangerous. So I just wanted to make that distinction, because I say it all the time. It might go over your head why I'm stressing that they have to be licensed. It's important that they be licensed to make sure that they are practicing the way they ought to be and can be held accountable, right? And the reason you need to work with a licensed advocate is, first of all, because the Law Society of Kenya dictates that for any commercial transactions, I wouldn't say it's a must or something that you have to do to have it be legal. It's just a high recommendation by the Law Society of Kenya, which exists to protect not only the interests of the legal fraternity, but also the interests of the consumers in Kenya, that you work with a licensed advocate. This is because Kenya's legal system can be tricky to navigate. Unless you're a lawyer, it's virtually impossible to know what the law says about every particular matter. And this is one of the main reasons you need to work with a licensed advocate. They will look out for your due diligence issues. They know what to look out for. They know what questions to ask. They also know how to do very basic things, basic for them, like drafting legal agreements that capture the intention of any transaction. It's very difficult for two lay people to do that on their own without having legal representation. And also, in the event of any disputes in the course of the transaction, your legal advisor, a licensed advocate of the High Court, can represent your interests in a court of law. And this is where the rubber meets the road, right? And so for that reason, I'll say, please do not take any shortcuts. Work with the licensed people. Very easy to find out if they are licensed. Simply ask them for their license number and run it through LSK's website, or go to the Law Society of Kenya offices and ask them to confirm to you that the lawyer that you're considering working with is currently licensed. Very simple, costs a little bit of money. After all, they went to school for 4 years and did their pupillage and sat for a bar exam to be able to practice. So it'll cost you a little bit of money, but it's well worth it to protect your interests, especially when it comes to property investment. I hope that information helps. If you have any questions, comments to make, please feel free to reach out to us. www.goshenacquisitions.com is our website. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and share with everyone. You've been watching Own Land in Kenya. I am Solomon Wangwe. Stay tuned for more information on strategic land investment.